Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Into the Pit. I am your host, Coyote, and I have here the wonderful Miss Kristen Luman. How are you, Kristen?
Very good. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, appreciate you being here. A lot of you know that Mustafa Gadlori and I are friends, and he invited us out to help with an investigation and an event in Mineral Wells, Texas. And so Kristen got to come along on this one.
Yes.
And
Very exciting. I
we're
haven't been on a lot of events, so I'm happy to do this one. And because of COVID, unfortunately,
right.
a lot of things were canceled. So we're happy to be out here now.
Well, we are going to kind of do a little abbreviated talk about what we did last night and what a little bit of guess what we're going to do tonight. And we're going to invite her back on the show so we get to know her personally. So we're in Mineral Wells, Texas, as I said. We were at the Beach Army Hospital, and which is actually right down the street from where we're staying.
Yeah, very close.
So it was basically where they trained people to fly helicopters. Of course, it said it's a hospital. They've got bunkers there. They got the mess hall, the whole 9 yards. But
surgical rooms.
Exactly.
Families lived there. It was created especially for Vietnam. And if you're a helicopter pilot that was going to go out to Vietnam, that was the place that you trained. So any helicopter pilot that went to Vietnam trained there.
Well, I know when we went to it was like the front part of the building. We had that experience where I had said, "Hey, because I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm saying, hey, can you help me and help push my wheelchair?" My wife hears what sounds like a wheelchair down the hallway, and then my chair actually got pushed.
Which I think is so amazing.
That was
helpful.
Awesome. Exactly. And I guess I should have been more thankful to them. But what happened when you took the group of people out?
Well, our first experience was pretty quiet. I did lead, which I actually have never done at an event, but I thought I would do it at this event because I do it myself. I led the group in a meditation, a very quick one. Usually on my own, I spend a longer time within the meditation, but just to reconnect with yourself, to balance yourself, to help you with any jitters, what I've experienced in my investigating that, and which I totally believe in. It's not pseudoscience. Obviously, the energy you put out is the energy you attract. And so I always like to put myself in a place where I possibly am more accessible to whatever presence may be there. And I also like to research how different people's or different team members' interaction with each other also may create a more accessible environment. And in the beginning of Ghost Hunters, before we were really set up with teams and we were put with different team members, I was keeping track of who was experiencing the most events based on who they were with. However, then they changed it and put us with set partners, so I couldn't continue that experiment. However, with this investigation, with this group, I did take them through a meditation where we just sort of centered ourselves, relaxed, envisioned the third eye. There's, the theory of the third eye opening that makes you more intuitive, visualizing and imagining that. Our imagination is so powerful. Some people believe that they don't have an imagination or they can't imagine well. However, we wouldn't exist without an imagination, because if you think about it, anything that you do whether you're consciously aware of it or not, you visualize and imagine doing it before you do it. And, what you're going to wear in the morning, your work day, whatever that may be. And our visualizations on our imagination is so powerful. And it's actually the way that our brain speaks to us, because our brain speaks to us in our dream state, and you are experiencing those visuals. And that is actually your brain coming from the subconscious, telling you really what your true feelings about something is, or it's trying to, which we call venting dreams, trying to release anxiety in a very healthy way. That's nightmares. And even though they're uncomfortable to experience, it's actually a very healthy way for your brain to release any anxieties that you're experiencing in your life. So I always think the best way to speak back to the brain, in the same way that the brain speaks to us, is through visualizations and your imagination. So I took the group on visualizing and imagining that intuitive part of the brain opening up, and also opening up the heart energy. They used to believe that our energy mostly emitted from our brain. However, they discovered that actually we emit the most energy from our heart, and it can be detected up to 15 feet away. So I had the people in my group sort of visualizing and imagining the aura of their heart opening up and radiating out, and being more accessible and open to whomever may be there who would like to share any sort of message or just share their presence.
So I want to interject something, kind of get off of the paranormal for a moment, but you're familiar with The Secret.
Mm-hmm.
I love the books,
Mm-hmm.
watched the movies and things, and very big believer in it.
Mm-hmm.
So with meditation, and that's another way, I guess, that The Secret tells you, if you can visualize something, then you can manifest it. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of part of meditating as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And that it's a big part of meditating. And the thing that's really also awesome about the subconscious mind and meditating, meditation and hypnosis, well, I'm a hypnotherapist, are pretty much the same thing. The brain goes into the same um, area, if you will, down into theta waves when you are meditating, or whether you're in hypnosis. And when you are in that part of your subconscious mind, the subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality and your imagination. So when you visualize and imagine in that state, as well as your brain is aware, is that you are actually doing this. And that's why a lot of athletes and other people with their careers, when they visualize and imagine shooting that perfect shot or whatever, playing the piano perfectly, and they're in that state of mind, the brain actually thinks that you're doing it. So when you actually do physically do it, it believes it's already done it before.
Okay.
And that's why it can help so much for athletes or people who are trying to achieve their goals.
It's funny that you just reminded me, when I was in school, I played football. I never knew why the coach would do this, but he would have us sit in the floor or lay on the floor in the locker room, turn out the lights, and he'd say, just think about the game, think about what
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be doing out on the field, and it usually really helped, get
Mm-hmm.
more focused when we were out there. And I never really put that together until
That's
just now.
why.
That's amazing.
That's why your coach knew what he was doing. Yeah.
So,
But that first run was quiet. The second run, however, we were in the basement, and it was very quiet all the way through, but they had these lights that were hanging from the walls that were motion detector lights. And it really was actually difficult for them to go on. Even when you walked underneath them, it was still hard for them to turn on. If you waved underneath them and kind of jumped up and down underneath them, then they would go on. And Shauna, who works in the building and
yes.
knows the building very well, has had experience where she's reached out to whomever may be in there and asked them to walk under these lights or let them know of their presence. by moving under these lights or turning these lights on. And so we were constantly asking for this. And finally, though, at the end, we did the question, if you want us to go, which we never do until the end of the investigation, because if you get the answer that whomever there wants you to go, you need to be respectful of that and leave. So I never asked that question until we are about to leave. And we asked the question, if you would like us to leave, can you turn on the lights or move underneath the lights? And sure enough, they all lit up. So that was our answer. And of course, you want to stay because now you know something may be there with you, but you have to be respectful. And so, but we were down there for a good hour, and those lights never came on until we asked that question.
Wow. We only had the one experience down there. Of course, there was a lot of other noises and other things going on, and we did capture a lot of good stuff on the digital recorder. But I know y'all had some good experiences. Mustafa had some pretty good ones. What did you kind of have everything that you expected happen, or?
Yes, because even in talking with Shauna, the place didn't seem to, the stories that she told, it didn't seem like it had a lot of activity, or there were a lot of stories to be told of what people experienced there. Now, possibly I didn't hear all of them.
Right.
But there were just a few that they predominantly spoke about, and a lot of those few stories we did experience. Right. So we did experience what those who have gone before us had seen as well. So that was really happy, because whenever you take a group out, this is life, and really oftentimes in investigations it is very quiet, but there is still that want when you take a group of people out for them to experience something, and then you do kind of feel bad if they don't, like it's your fault or something of that nature. And so it was really nice to have the end. I was like, thank you, when the lights went on, because, you want everyone that you're bringing out to be happy and have that exciting moment.
For sure. Well, I can't tell you the last few investigations that we had been on before we came to Mineral Wells is kind of disappointing, nothing really happening. And, even though you've experienced something in the past, when you've had those investigations where nothing happened, you almost question, is this even really ever happened? And then you have stuff that happened last night, and like, oh yeah, this stuff's real.
yeah, exactly. So it helps to confirm it.
Now, I have a little bit more of an advantage for tonight, because I got to investigate the hospital, the Old Nazareth Hospital, with Mustafa about a month ago. And so this is a new experience for you.
Yes.
There is a few spots in there I can say seem to be pretty active.
Okay.
So we can't really talk a whole lot about it right now, but I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Good. I never am, even if it is quiet. It always is still an amazing experience just to be able to be in an old location like that and hear the history. I mean, that's part of the blessing of, being on Ghost Hunters and other projects that I've done in the past, to be able to go into these old locations where many people are not allowed to walk through, or get to know or be told stories that many people haven't heard, is still just very fascinating to me, and I feel very lucky to be able to do that.
Well, if you're like me, when you go to a location, the history alone is worth going out.
Yes, completely.
Last night, Shauna, who's run both of these events, she has such great history on these buildings. And the people that have been through it, that even if you don't capture anything paranormal, if you'll just come out and check the places out, and it's well worth the money to pay to go into these places, because it's just fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
I love history.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
The hospital we're going to tonight, I'm not going to spoil anything
Okay.
for you. I'm going to let Shauna do it.
Okay. Good.
But unfortunately, I wish we could sit here and talk more about it, but we're kind of pressed for time. So
we're off to investigate.
Off to investigate. But
Yeah.
like I said, I'm going to put her on the spot.
He's going to hold me to it.
I'm going to hold you to it. We're going to have her back on because I really want y'all to get to know her. She's an awesome person.
Oh, thank you.
And
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Thank you for inviting me. I
And
appreciate it. And sorry we were short on time, but we
no
actually got into some deep conversations right when I walked in the door, and then remembered that we had to record. And then and also we're short on time because we have to get to the investigation.
Yes.
So another time we will get in more depth of getting to know each other better as well. So we'll do this again.
Well, I have to say, everybody on the Ghost Hunters team, all of you have been so wonderful to us.
Oh, good. That makes me happy. They are a good group of people.
Oh, yeah. Even Brandon. We
couldn't have managed without Brandon, him and his tech mind.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. He brought stuff to, I think, the paranormal world that, I mean, he did actually, that hasn't been used before with the photon camera. That really blew my mind. And I think
could not wait for that.
Yeah, it's the new technology and device that I think needs to be brought out on every investigation now.
For sure.
It was just awesome, the stuff that we caught on that camera. And like I've said before, everything that we caught on that camera was different than what we caught before. And so to me, that just opens up a whole new can of worms and more questions. Mm-hmm. However, they're hard to get, those cameras, and they're very pricey. So we were very lucky that he had a friend that allowed us to borrow it. And I think it is very important, and we've said this before, for any investigation to use equipment that was especially made for science, mm-hmm. As opposed made for paranormal investigations, because then it's already created with a bias in it. And when you're using something that was created for science to prove the science and paranormal, I think it just makes it that much more credible.
Oh, yeah. Well, if ever there's going to be absolute definitive proof that there are ghosts, Brandon is going to be the one to find it.
Yes. And he has, actually. I mean, I think the stuff we caught, in Clifton, Arizona, and at the Fort Stanton, I mean, that to me, with that camera, there's no denying it. And we had scientists and all kinds of people who know more about that, the science part of it, than we do, check that footage out and had no explanation for it.
There's no denying the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that he got.
Mm-hmm.
But, we'll get into another hour's worth of conversation.
Yes, I know. Here we go.
But yeah, thank y'all for your support, and let's get Kristen back on the show soon.
Okay. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Poor boy.
Thank you for joining us on Into the Pit. Please follow us on Facebook at the Vibes Broadcast Network and Instagram at the Vibes Broadcast.